serial killers and mommy issues. Am I right? Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The third episode of the Hulu FX series, The Patient, has dropped, and it's called Issues. And boy, do the folks in this episode have a lot of issues. We pick up right after the end of the last episode, which my suggestion was correct. A couple of folks here agreed that it was definitely a woman coming down those stairs, and it is none other than Candace, Sam's mother, with a poker and all. And I did think she was going to look a little bit more disheveled and crazy. She looks like a prototypical suburban housewife, which might even be creepier than what what was going on in my head. But she's very much aware of what Sam's been doing. She's aware that Alan's there. And she also has sort of told her son that you should seek out some help and some therapy for what it is you're doing. And Alan sort of pleads to her, like, hey, let me out of this change. And she responds quickly, hey, I don't have the keys. He's like, okay, hold on. You can call the police, at least. And she's like, no, I can't. I'm not going to turn in my own flesh and blood. I'm not going to turn in my baby boy. I just think that he needs to get help. And unfortunately, while the situation is not good, I don't agree with how he's doing it. This is probably the best way to get my boy some help. Crazy sign number one. And I'll come back to the police thing in a bit. But it's definitely like the red flag. Like, oh no, she's nuts too. Cool. I'm still with two nutsos and I'm still stuck here. Chained to this bed. So then Sam comes home with some food. You know, he brought the notebook like he said he would. You know, Alan asked for it. Thought he had everything set up for him. He brought the notebook for him. So the notepad's there and he makes a note. He's like, hey, I got it for you. He's doing everything to please him and make him happy. And he brought him some pho. And gets everything together. So at that point, that Alan lets him know, like, hey, while you were gone, I heard somebody upstairs. And I screamed for help and screamed for their attention, and they came down and I saw them. And he's like, oh, so you met my mother. Which, if anybody remembers from the first couple episodes, Sam had been telling Alan that his parents were dead. And clearly, she was a walking, talking manifestation. He saw her. And he's like, oh yeah, well, okay, that's another thing that I lied about. So now it's kind of getting to the point where Sam is no longer, he shouldn't have been anyway, but he's no longer a trustworthy source of information. The information that we're getting from him doesn't seem to be on the up and up, and he's giving us what he wants us to believe. And so Alan is kind of like, okay, but he's still playing along. Alan's still letting him kind of let the leash out and let further and further in. Alan asks him, like, hey, look, to do this properly, you got to take this chain off. Like, I cannot be under duress and give you the proper treatment that you and your mother say that you need. Sam's like, no, I'm good. So you can try to attack me. Like, no, I played this through my brain, and in my brain, when I played it out, you were chained. He's like, okay, cool, but look at me. You are a young man of decent athletic weight. I've sat in a chair for all of my life. I can't attack you even if you take this chain off. Which, once we start seeing those visual images, which we get another violent display of Alan attacking Sam if he was let go. Clearly, Alan is playing the long games like, hey, let me go for just a brief second and I will destroy you. But he is still caged and still trapped. And they have a tit for tat and they go back and forth. And Alan essentially says, like, hey, if you're not going to chain me up, and we're not going to have what is considered to be a normal therapy session, the least we should do is start bringing your mother to these. And a lot of what Sam has said, the reason why he did not have his mother involved is because it always goes to the mothers. Mother this, mother that, mothers are always the issues for why sons go off on the range and start being crazy. He doesn't want to blame his mother for that. And Alan's like, I get that. But I think to get to the best case scenario of this, we need to have the both of you together. And they do. And so they have a conference together, two of them and Alan. Sam seems very quick and willing to cut off his mom. His mom is kind of pouring her heart out. She's saying what situation is. She's saying that like her husband Left when he was 14. He was abusive. He was violent. And Sam's like, he was a piece of shit. Like, just jumps in right there. Um, and Alan's like, hold on. Let's everybody be slow with our responses. Let's take our time and let her let some things off, because if you quickly jump in, you are butting in and saying you know what she's going to say. And you don't. She could say something else. So give her time to say that so that you can kind of be surprised and take it all in. And Candace starts tearing up a bit. I don't know if it's a display. I don't know if it's for show. But what comes out of it is Alan says, hey, when you go have these urges, when you go do these things, you are hurting your mother. So can you say that you won't do these anymore so that you don't hurt your mom? And she tears up. He has to get some tissues. Like, can you say that? He doesn't actually give a verbal response. He sort of nods and drinks his tea or coffee, but he doesn't actually respond. And so we don't really know if in that moment he is earnest, and based on all the information that we've gotten before, when he's lied about this and this and this and this, he's no longer, like I said, a trustworthy source of information. But that continues on. We see a moment where Alan has a moment in his bed where he's reminiscing. So we've seen flashbacks throughout this entire episode where there was a situation where Alan's wife, who's no longer with us, they're attending the wedding of his son, and it's sort of where his son and he have become estranged. His son has got married to a woman who has a faith that does not match that of Alan, and the mom wants to get up there and sing a song, which is not something that is frowned upon that situation. Women are not allowed to sing, but she gets up there and plays her guitar and sings her song. Alan and his daughter are there being supportive and kind of smiling, but there's a lot of people who get up to walk away, and it becomes a very strenuous and strained moment. You have the wife's husband standing there on the side, like being very disapproval. This is probably what fractures their relationship. The problem is, and I think Alan at this point knew, because it seems like that sequence where she goes home and with the cap is shortly thereafter, that was a wig that she was wearing, that she was sick in this moment. So he's like, look, I'm gonna let you do and get your last thing off. Go for it. And he is sort of reminiscing about that time and the loss that he has. He's still wearing his ring, and I don't quite. You guys might be able to help me out. I don't quite know the amount of time that they're saying has passed or occurred since she's been deceased, because he doesn't relay that to his patients, and he definitely didn't say that to his son. But it's relatively new, but he's still wearing the ring. We then have another moment where Sam comes home, brings some more food, and they sort of have a conversation. And he said, "Hey, look, what you said worked. It did. I went to the store, went to the restaurant, I saw the guy, and I wanted to kill him. I did. I really wanted to kill that dude. But I used what you said. I went back to my car, sat there, and I didn't. But boy, did he deserve it." And Alan picks up on that and says, "Hey, all the people that you have killed, are you saying that they deserved it? Like it was something that they earned?" And he's like, "Yes." Gives you a bit of a clue, and I'll bring it up at the end, but it gives you a bit of a clue of how he chooses what he does, or how all of this may have started. We get to the next scene. He's sleeping. Alan's having more dreams, continuing on the sort of the situation of the wedding, and then he's woken up in the middle of the night by Sam coming home with a person, with the restaurant guy. Clearly didn't work too well. He has him taped and tied, throws him against the glass, and he drags him to the bathroom, tapes him up some more, locks the door, and leaves. And that is how the episode ends. It's a wild way. I feel like we're just going to keep gaining guests in this house as every episode ends. It's a quick, breezy 23 minutes in and out, but it is intense, and you feel every bit of it. I think this is a kind of a cool way to 23 minutes for these feel like you're watching a 35 to 40 minute episode, but it feels, because it's so dense, but it's some good character work. My thought is, though, as much as he's saying it's not his mom, I feel like mom's in on this. And I think the reason why she doesn't want to go to the police is because this started with them equally playing a part in killing her husband, his father. I feel like the father being gone at 14 has something to do with the two of them, and they started, and he quote unquote deserved it like all these other people who have deserved it since point. And so he is now giving them that. Now, what's interesting, and I don't know how, I'm not a killer, so I don't know how serial killers work, but I feel like he may be continuing these on, perhaps because he didn't actually get to kill or have the honor of killing his father. Maybe she did, and now he's doing this to sort of say, hey, I can do this. I don't know. I don't get the whole purpose, but what I do think is that they are in on this as a team. I don't think she is as innocent as she claims to be. Um, but it's going to be fascinating to see how this now triangle becomes a square with this new person. And I think, do we get to see Sam in his element do his killing in front of Ellen? Like that's going to change this relationship and this dynamic drastically. And so I don't know if they're going to keep him hostage or try to actually have him killed in front. I think one reason why it could take place down there is that, and again, who knows? He's not a trustworthy source, but Sam did say that his father used to abuse him quite often in the room that he is holding Alan. So if this is the impetus, if this is the room that sort of started it all, even if it is with his mom together, this might be sort of where he does all of his bidding. But I am fully invested now. Like I was already in, but if you keep ending on these little cliffhangers to kind of get me through the next and dropping in little small seeds here and there, it's fun to conjecture. It's fun to have some thoughts about it. But I 100%, while I was right about mom coming down the steps, I still think that mom, Candace, has something to do with the overall story. She's fully invested in helping her son, but she's the one who's read all the psychiatric books. She's the one who's done all this. So she's done the work on herself, and now I think she's trying to get that work done on her boy. To much to no help. She's fixed herself, and now she needs somebody to fix her boy. And this book and this guy seems to be the one to do it. Those are my thoughts. What did you guys think about this episode of The Patient? Continue to leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that is on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.